Hello, everyone. Welcome to our new episode of podcast. Today, I'm here with Maxine Drake, who is an advocate for DDWA or Developmental Disability WA. So I will ask Maxine first, thank you for accepting to be part of this podcast, and it's very important to me to give the people the knowledge about what DDWA is. So can you please tell us what that DDWA is and what do you do here?
Yeah, thanks, Sandra. It's really good to be able to come and speak to you. DDWA is a non-government organisation. So non-government means that it is an independent organisation that has a board of management, and it was established by parents about 30 years ago who have family members with intellectual disability who relied upon them, and they were worried about what the world and the future held for their family member when they weren't around. So they established this organisation. We've done programs in the past around getting housing for people, because people can often live with their family members until they can't live there any longer, and so families wanted to find housing. So that's the kind of thing we do. We support families who have a family member with intellectual disability, and we talk to government about what they need. We provide parent and carer training so that people have information. As you know, the reason you're doing this is information is power, and that if people have information, they can run their own lives better, and they can negotiate better, they can feel empowered. And so DDWA's our main reason is to make families' lives better. Bottom line, make families' lives better in every single thing we do. And so we apply for grants from government for projects, and then we use that money as cleverly as we can to provide the services that we feel that the membership needs. And so a new issue can emerge, and we might run a workshop on it so that people can be informed about something. And then that information gives them a better capacity to then argue. So we're a small community-based organisation, but we're very purposeful, very energetic, and really focused on supporting families to have what they need to run their lives as well as they can.
Yeah, well, I've seen firsthand how you work here at DDWA, and it's very, as it should, person-centred. You know, I've seen what you do. So can you explain a little bit how you work with the family but putting the person with disability at the centre?
Sure. I know that you work out in the community and you have a scope of work that you do, and then there might be times when you come up against the side of that where you think something else is needed. And I think advocacy often is the thing that is the additional thing that's needed in some situations and some negotiations. So a number of years ago, DDWA brought me in as an advocate to start the advocacy program, because they had members ringing up and they were saying, oh, we can't really help you because we don't have the capacity to help you. And so then having an advocate on board means that that person can bring their advocacy skills to bear to support families. Some advocacy organisations will only talk to the person with the disability. But we know that there's a lot of people with intellectual disability who would never find us unless somebody like you or their family member brought them to us and said, look, this is the problem, can you help? And so there will certainly be times when we mainly deal with the family. We mainly support the family to get the outcome. If, of course, our radar told us that the family was not necessarily working in the person's best interest, we'll switch focus and we'll start to work for the person. But while it's clear that the family is advocating well for their family member and they need some extra support, we will always support the family to find the outcome that they need. And I think that's a difference around, you said person-centred, and we would say if the family is being person-centred, then we are also being person-centred and family-centred. And we recognise that families know the person best. They understand what they've already done in the past and what needs to be done next. And so as an advocate, I listen as well as I can to what's going on for the family. and then I might throw in some ideas that might give me a sense of whether they've got the language I use is an appetite or a sense of ready to take a risk to start to push a bit harder. And or if they're just so tired they can't think of what to do next, then I might be there to boost their energy, to boost their confidence, to do some of the work for them so that we can get things to the next stage. So in coming to DDWA to lead the advocacy program, I've loved working in an organisation that has that as the ethos, make families' lives better. If we're not doing something that's doing that, then we shouldn't be doing that thing, which means we don't have intake processes or, referral processes. You know yourself, you've called and said, I've got this situation. This is what's happening, can you help? And so if we have regard for you and your work in the community, and we have regard for the family and their need, then of course we'll say yes. Where do you need us to be and when? And so you've seen that at work.
Yes.
And as an advocate, you might say, yes, Max, you did that well, but I can do that well because I've got great support in the team. I've got years of experience up my sleeve that I can call on. I'm a little bit naturally fearless, and so I'm happy to go in and tackle situations and think on my feet. And I'm really keen to support DDWA to become an established advocacy organisation so I can succession plan and eventually go on with the rest of my life. And I know that there's people doing this kind of work because it's very important work.
Yeah, you have a great team to work with. So, and what would be the areas of focus of DDWA?
Well, if you think about our core constituencies, people with intellectual disabilities, so that's along the lifespan. They can be elderly people with intellectual disability or young. Since the incredible emergence of autism spectrum disorder, ADHD, that's another group of people that we support. There's, of course, the other group that's less visible, and that's people who might have a genetic disorder or all sorts of differences in the way they function, and it might have an impact on their intellectual functioning. And, of course, that's under the intellectual disability heading, but there are different ways that people have an intellectual disability. So that's our constituent population. But what we're seeing at the moment is a very strong need in the education area. That traditionally education systems have operated on a kind of what we would call neurotypical, the assumption that everybody functions in a fairly similar way and can conform to school environments and can learn. We know that a lot of people just fall out of the school system if the school system doesn't change to meet their needs. And there's a new awareness around the way the brain works under pressure, and school creates pressures for kids. And if kids have autism or ADHD or other things like significant trauma histories or sensory processing disorder, then the school environment can be really difficult. The law says schools have to accommodate those kids, not just dismiss them, not suspend them, not take them out of the class, find ways to accommodate those kids so that they can learn. And so my job is to help parents argue for that, and also to help the schools, with the problem solving they might need some help with on how to make that real. So there's a massive cultural change happening in the school system around adjusting to neurodivergence, and I'm part of the many people that are trying to help families and schools get through that. So a big area of focus in our work is in the education system. A lot of it's on the phone, talking to parents about the situation they're in and helping them problem solve and hustle.
Yeah. Well, that is a new part of DDWA?
It is.
All right.
And you're aware that a traditional area of our work is for people with intellectual disability who might have difficulty making decisions, and there's sometimes around those people somebody might think, gee, do we need a substitute decision maker? Do we need to go to the State Administrative Tribunal to establish a guardianship order around this person or an administration order around their money? And that's an ongoing area of support that we provide to families, because a parent can be told by somebody at Centrelink who doesn't know any better that they need to get a guardianship order when their kid turns 16 or 18, and parents think, oh, what? Really? Why? Why should I? Do I have to? Oh my God, somebody from the government's told me that I need to do this, so off they go and they might make an application, and that can just cause unnecessary disruption to their lives. And so we get involved sometimes to try to help avert that, to rescue people from it. But of course, in reality, we sometimes need to help people get a guardianship order so that they can have adequate control over what's going on in their family members' lives. So guardianship and administration is another big area of our work.
Yes, and with the kids in this school, because I've got a kid with disabilities, and the school it's been a huge part of his development in terms of gaining confidence. You know, we have been very lucky with the school, with the teachers, but I have also met families that have decided to do homeschooling because the school doesn't provide what the kids need to be able to be part of the community, to be able to grow in the community and act as a young person, adult in the society. So how do parents contact you, and when exactly?
I think parents have got a really good radar for when they need that extra shoulder to support their cause. I sometimes have people call and I say, how did you know about us? And they say, I've known about you for a long time. I never thought I'd need to call, but now I know that I do. So I think that, say for example, the parent who's taken their child out of school because they feel they can't tolerate it, and they maybe have signed on to homeschooling, their child themselves, once they re-establish themselves in some kind of equilibrium, the child themselves might say, Mum, Dad, I want to try school again. Yeah? And that might be the point at which the parent might think, oh, wow, how do I even go about this? They might get online, check it out, Google, see some parent websites that talk about school, and then they might find us like that. That's actually the most common way for people to find us. We don't promote it because we're not funded to do it. We know how important it is, so our board commits funding to my role so that we can do it, but we're not funded for it. So we can't be, irrational and advertise too much, but word of mouth is fantastic. And I just have huge respect for parents' judgment around when they need support. And as long as they can find us, then we'll provide that support in whatever way we can.
Okay, that's great. So, and with people in general, when or how do you get involved with them in their, you were talking about how you help families, and sometimes, and I have seen it, that's why I'm asking, they feel scared that an advocate is going to take some authority or power away from them, and decide not to get an advocate to help them, the family, the person, because of that. What would you say to that?
What I'd say to that, Sandra, is that people want to have control of their own lives. Yeah, they want to have control of their families. They don't want to hand it over to somebody. So I know I'm very respectful of the fact that by the time a person's called me, they're actually feeling as though their back's against a wall, and they're feeling as though they need some support because they've tried everything. So I'm very respectful of that. But the other thing I would say in respect to people worrying about an advocate taking over is it's the same message in all of life. Consumer beware. If your gut's telling you something's wrong here, trust your gut. And if the advocate's getting too bossy, throwing in suggestions that are not going to help, taking over, making calls without your advice, all of that stuff, back right out of it. Don't assume that all advocates behave like that, because advocacy does have a pure purpose. Its pure purpose is to support people to get their voice heard and to, in a sense, I call it empowerment advocacy. If I don't need to speak, I shouldn't. If I do, I should. I shouldn't stand beside and let somebody be treated badly. I should rescue them if that's happening. But if things are ticking over nicely, just stay out of it. So that's what I think advocacy is about as well. Because really, the core of advocacy is to be an independent third party. Somebody who's not one of them and not you, who's independent. And your presence there alone can make the difference. And I've always been quite amazed by that. I've walked out of a setting and thought, that went well, and they went, that's because you were there. It went differently because you were there. I don't take credit for that. I just recognise that it's the nature of the role of the independent third party. And so people should expect their advocate to empower them, not make them feel worse. Absolutely. Sometimes I throw an idea at someone and they go, whoa, slow down, too quick. We're not ready for that yet. Other people don't even tell me the name of the school because they're so worried that I might blow it. And so I respect that as well. I understand that people want to be in charge of it. They're calling me for some some savvy, and that might be all they need, and they hang up and I might never hear from them again. So I think we do run a responsive and accessible advocacy service so that people can call in when they need it, get what they need, and then get on with it.
How can people get educated through DDWA in respect of the services?
When the NDIS came onto the landscape, DDWA was an organisation that was going to go under unless we found new ways to work. We'd always provided parent and carer training because we know information is power. But we needed to find a way to adapt to the modern world. And so we never provided support workers, but we do provide support coordinators. And we do have a focus on supporting maybe some of the families that struggle to get a support coordinator with the skills. So our team of support coordinators are all highly skilled. That provides, I think, it doesn't make us rich by any means because it is almost a cost-neutral activity, but it does support families, But we also then we created a lot more material into a format for the web. So there's materials on our website. Our website's fabulous. Yeah. Everybody tells me that. I don't really look at websites, but everybody tells me it's fabulous. And it has a lot of material on it and information that can be sold. And we also get grants for activities in the areas of complex communication need and in self-advocacy to support people with intellectual disability to get a better outcome in their lives by standing up for themselves. So we have a number of grants that also can support the whole work of the whole organisation. So that's what we've done to move forward. And so the website is a fantastic source of information because the material is written in an accessible way. It's often written by families. It's critiqued by families. It's made it's not easy read, but it's certainly plain English and easier to read because of the way it's set up. We're always been a bit of a groundbreaking organisation, like challenging behaviour. Yeah. And restrictive practice was one of the early areas of work that we did that was leading. Complex communications, another leading area of work. And now at the moment, you're getting this as a scoop. DDWA is getting involved in doing easy read materials that are cutting edge. So our last 2 annual reports were done in easy read.
Wow.
And so we sit in our annual general meeting with people on our team with intellectual disability who are seeing it on the screen, they're seeing it in front of them and they're hearing it read and they're going, yep, oh yeah, they got it because we've made it accessible to them.
Yeah.
And so we're really pushing that out into the community to say it's not just people with intellectual disability, people with low literacy, people with English as a second, third, fourth or fifth language who might need things in easy English. And so that's another example of our leadership in the sector because we're so close to families that are living it that we know what's going on.
Yeah.
We're confident we know what's going on.
You mentioned NDIS. Do you do advocacy help families through the process when they have an issue, not through the support coordination part of it, but as an advocate, do you help families?
The way I'd answer that is advocacy is a brief intervention engagement on a particular issue. case management is standing beside a person and walking beside them and helping them get through it. So the way we have to see it, because of our funding arrangements, is that the family is the case manager, and they might need to call us and say, what kind of evidence do I need for an S100 review? And so we have a team member who's really skilled at that. Actually, everybody in the office, I'm happily spared this, have real life experience of the NDIS. And so most people you could call and say, this is happening with the NDIS. They might be able to give you some information, but it'll have to be short and sharp involvement around the NDIS on particular questions. And from what I understand from Letitia, our team member who does it, is evidence, 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 and more evidence.
And more evidence.
Is what it's all about.
Yeah.
And getting it in the right way at the right time. But so we're certainly NDIS aware, sympathetic, supportive, and we'll do what we can as we can, but we're limited by funding.
Yeah, well, that is a big issue. And as we do, we try to educate our participants, the community, because we do volunteering with different, community centres, families in the school, and to educate them. And I know you're a big fan of it, because then you give the power to the families to do the thing.
But the NDIS is overwhelming. It's a system that causes levels of stress to really skilled people that they've never experienced before. And so one thing we all share the worry of is who's missing out. Who's missing out because it's just too hard. Yeah. There's a heap of people in our society who live their lives on their phone. They don't have a home office. They don't have, like I have, an iPad that at least makes it bigger. They're just on their phone. And how do you run such a complex process on your phone? Yeah. So I do think that it's inaccessible to a heap of people, and you're right, we need to work harder to inform those communities around people that NDIS, if you don't get on the NDIS train, you can miss out on a heap of things. Exactly. Some people want to get off the NDIS train because it's complicated, but really if you're caring for somebody who needs those services, you have to get on that train, and it can be really difficult. Yeah.
How can people contact you and DDWA?
Just do the usual means: phone, email, drop in, whatever they like.
You do walk-ins as well?
It's not, a lot of people don't do that themselves anyway these days. A lot of people do it online or by phone. So I'd say go by phone first or go by email first. If you're a person who prefers email, send it all in, and then we can tic-tac that way, or we can talk once you feel like you've got confidence in us. But just through whatever the usual ways are.
And also to let everyone know that this is extremely highly confidential. Everything.
Absolutely. Thanks for that. Yes,
you do.
Because subject to all of the standards of privacy and confidentiality, and to the NDIS standards for any organisation.
Yeah. So
you can make a complaint about me, and I'll be happy to hear it, so I can get better at what I do.
Well, it's not only complaints. You can do, good feedback as well.
Oh yeah, but sometimes things just don't work, and an organisation should always be open to that sort of thing. So I'm just saying that I am.
I know you are. So, well, in terms of in terms of school advocacy, I'll be requesting more information to share it with the people that we work with, and to extend it to our participants, because I know it is useful.
We could do an interview on school advocacy, if that's what you'd like.
Yeah, that would be good.
I'm certainly open to that at any time, because I want to get the message out to families, to demystify it, to encourage, to give ideas, to alert parents. So if you have a parent rings up who's got a 4-year-old, you think, oh my goodness, you have a journey ahead of you. You've got a lot to learn. Let me help you start.
Yeah. No, that it's actually also grandparents raising children.
Yep.
Because I went to do a talk. Our office in Warwick is very close to that. The community centre there, and what they do is actually amazing. and it's a big group of parents
It is.
or grandparents raising children.
Yep, and when I have grandparents that ring and say, I'm looking after the 3 children of my son, I regard them as grandparent/parent. I'll advocate for them as fiercely and as strongly, maybe even stronger, because they need more juice in their tank because they're
tired.
Yeah, they're tired, and it's really calling on all of their reserves. So I'll certainly back them up in any way that we can.
All right, that's good to know. So, all right, anything else that you want to share with us about DDWA, the work that you do, the team, and in any regards?
No, I'd only say thanks for having such confidence in us that you're prepared to back us in this way, because it is relationships between people in community that make these kinds of connections work. You know, you can call me and I know I can call you, and I think they're the kinds of connections that we all need. So thanks very much.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure to be here, and I personally, as I said, admire the work you do and how you do it, and how passionate, everyone here it is.
Thanks, Sandra.
Thank you for what you do, and yes, if everyone, anyone needs more information, go to the comments. We're gonna add some information about DDWA, their website, phone numbers, and ask if you have a doubt, you have a question, just call them and they will answer your question, and then you make your decision freely and take it from there. So thank you very much. All right, thank you. Bye, guys. Yes. Thank you. Bye.